My name is Persa Sosiak. I'm the Commissioner of Health at the Cleveland Department of Public Health. And today our presenter will be Ms. Yulita Carter-Bostic. Ms. Carter-Bostic is our Disease Intervention Specialist Manager, which means that she manages our team of DIS, which are, again, our Disease Intervention Specialists, that are professionals in the community that really investigate cases of HIV and STI, as well as work on partner notification and do a tremendous amount of education in the community. I would be remiss if I didn't share that Ms. Tawana Simpson also contributed to this presentation, and this is the second time we've had this event, and Ms. Simpson presented last week. So I'm grateful for the work of the team and for everyone who helped share or add information and data to this presentation. Thank you to our viewers. I turn the presentation over to Ms. Carter-Bostic. Thank you.
Okay, so I know who told Carter-Bostic as my last name. I'm not going to mention any names. So today we're going to go over some of the 101 facts for HIV, the difference between HIV and AIDS, okay? So as we go along with the PowerPoint, I'll be touching some points off of the PowerPoint. If you have any questions, just let me know. We can stop, answer your questions, and then move on, okay? HIV, what you should know, December 4th and December 11th, as Commissioner said, we had a presentation last week. Some of you visited last week. What's the difference between HIV and AIDS? HIV is the human immunodeficiency virus. It's a virus that causes AIDS. The virus attacks the immune system. So as you know, we all need our immune system to fight off colds, flus, and other diseases and viruses. If our immune system is compromised, then you set yourself up for opportunistic infections, which are infections that healthy people may be able to fight off, but someone who has HIV would not be able to fight off. So when you hear someone say he's HIV positive, or he has what we say is the wrong pronunciation, but the AIDS. Have you heard people say that? He has the AIDS. Yes. Okay? There is no such thing as the AIDS. AIDS is the progression of HIV, which means that immune system is almost to zero, and there's no way to fight off infection, so you're considered to have AIDS when your immune system goes below a specific level, okay? So if you're somewhere and someone says, yeah, he got the AIDS, correct them, okay? Because the AIDS is not a separate infection, okay? It's just a further progression of HIV. Over time, weakens the immune system. Your immune system doesn't fight off diseases, infections, viruses. As I said, AIDS is the progression of HIV. It's an average of 10 years before someone can set up symptoms. Symptoms can be anywhere from severe fatigue, fevers, rashes, swollen lymph nodes. There are several symptoms that could be related to the final stage of HIV, which is AIDS. Many people do not find out that they've been diagnosed or been positive with HIV until they get one of these symptoms and they're in the hospital. When a person goes into the hospital and they have AIDS and they're very, very sick, we call that acute HIV, because they have had no medicines, they have had no treatment, and usually they're in the hospital because they have pneumonia. Now we're going to talk about HIV and how it is not transmitted, okay? So HIV is not transmitted through shaking hands, hugging, casual kissing, toilet seats, drinking fountains, doorknobs, dishes, drinking glasses, food, pets, or mosquitoes. Now, I get a lot of calls at the health department where people call and say, I have a family member that was just diagnosed with HIV. Is it okay if they eat off of the same plates that my children eat off of? So in that case, we know it is not spread through dishes. But you have to educate the public. And that's why we have these lunch and learns on different subjects, so that you can educate the public as a health department employee and let them know that you can hug your family member. You can touch your family member. You can share dishes, bedding. You can do all that with your family member, and you don't have to treat them any different. Ways of HIV transmission, these are the ways that it is transmitted. It's transmitted through blood, semen, vaginal fluid, breast milk, unprotected sex with an infected person, sharing needles and syringes of an infected person, and the fetus before birth, during, and through breastfeeding. Okay, so when we say sharing needles and syringes, that also accounts for people that have diabetes, that have needles in their refrigerator. And maybe they use one and they can't afford to buy several needles, so maybe their friend who has diabetes picks up the needle and uses it, and it can be transmitted that way. So not necessarily just sharing needles with drugs, but sharing needles because you have to take insulin every day. You had a question?
I noticed that saliva is not on here because on the previous screen you said casual kissing versus deep intimate kissing.
Okay, so your deep intimate kissing can cause you you may have an opening, a cut, a sore in your mouth. And so it's not so much the saliva, it's the blood that may be in that sore. Yeah, so if you're doing deep kissing, you have a cut on your tongue, someone has a cut on their gums. It might be so small you can't see it, but it does have blood in it. So even when we do the HIV OraSure test and we do a swab, that swab isn't gathering saliva, it's gathering blood. Down in your gums, you have very, very small veins. And when you rub up against them, they burst. And there's particles of blood in your mouth. Okay, even when you brush your teeth, you may not see it, but if you scrape up against your gum, it may open up. And so when you do deep kissing, you put yourself at risk. So that's why we say casual kissing. Peck on the lips, cheek, forehead, casual kissing.
So I get the question sometimes that, for blood, it's transmitted. If blood is like on a surface and you touch that blood and you maybe have an open wound or something like that, isn't the virus, it can't stay out in the atmosphere for too long? It's not.
That is correct. That is correct. But you still use precautions, of course. You wouldn't just walk up and just put your hand in blood. But we use universal precautions, so you always have latex gloves. Depending on the situation, you may have a face mask. You may have safety glasses. So just depending on, what it is you're doing. Oh, once it's on the surface? I'm not sure the exact amount of time. How many? 7 seconds. So it can be out 7 seconds. From the time that it hits the table up till 7 seconds, there are particles of HIV in that blood that if you take your hand, which is wide open, and put it on the blood, there's a possibility you could have transmission. But someone wouldn't do that, I don't think.
An accident or a family member.
Right.
They don't know maybe.
Maybe if they don't know that they're HIV positive, and your first reaction is to help your family member.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Also, there are many medications offered to pregnant moms. We have several cases where we have pregnant moms who go through a full-term pregnancy, deliver babies that are HIV negative. And that's because they have been diagnosed and treated before delivery. A lot of pregnant females want to have children, so they take medication during their pregnancy and they deliver HIV negative babies. So it's very common today, whereas years ago they did not advise it.
So if they were under medication, they delivered a baby that was HIV negative, would they be able to breastfeed?
No, they don't recommend it because when you breastfeed, a woman's nipples chafe and there's particles of blood, of course, under the skin. So they don't recommend it, but it's not to say that they cannot do it. Okay, but it's just not highly recommended. New method to help prevent the transmission of HIV is called PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, or PrEP. You'll hear that a lot now because PrEP is the new way to block transmission. PrEP consists of taking a pill every day by mouth. The pill is called Truvada. They found that if someone takes Truvada every day, their chances of getting HIV lessen. Now, PrEP is usually covered, the medication is usually covered through most insurances. However, there are several agencies that offer scholarships, discount cards, and programs that you can get the medication. The only requirement is that you're tested every 3 months so that you can renew your prescription. We refer our patients to PrEP. If they have a negative partner who doesn't want to be infected, we advise them and we refer them to any medical facility that offers PrEP. We offer PrEP at our City of Cleveland clinics, Thomas McCafferty and J. Glenn Smith. So we can refer people to PrEP, get them on PrEP through a program, and then follow them so that they come in and they get their prescription filled every 3 months. We also recommend don't just take the PrEP, use it with condoms. Okay, so you have a double barrier. So now we're going to talk about blood donation. Since 1985, all donated blood in the United States has been tested for HIV. The risk for HIV infection through the transfusion of blood or blood products is extremely low. United States blood supplies are considered among the safest in the world. So in some third world countries where they do not have the same setup to screen the blood, it may be a little different and a lot more possibility of transmission of HIV than it is here. All blood is screened. We do get clients that come to us and say, hey, I went to give blood and they told me that I couldn't donate blood. Something's wrong with my blood. Okay? So we get them into care. We get them tested, see what's going on, and then get them in for treatment and medication. Prevention and reduction. Well, we know that if you do not have sex, you can't transmit any type of STD. Are we with that? So practice abstinence, limit your sexual partners, use a condom every sexual encounter. Not every other Thursday, every other Tuesday, every other partner, every encounter. Get tested. Yes?
Sorry, so just to ask you to qualify, so you're just saying monogamous sex?
Well, if you're having monogamous sex and you know that you're having monogamous sex, and when I say that, not necessarily just you and your partner have to be having monogamous sex. Because we do have clients that come in and they say, well, I've only been with my partner, but maybe the partner hasn't just been with that person. So that depends on where your relationship is. You know, if you want to use condoms starting off, take your partner and get tested at the same time to start off a new relationship. But it's still based on trust. Is your partner going to be having sex with other partners? If you don't know that, we want you to use a condom every single time until you're positively sure that both partners are monogamous to each other. Okay, because people play with words, you know, so you have to be clear on what your thoughts are and what your partner's thoughts are. Use a new needle every time medications or substances are injected into your body. So we go back to like insulin injections or sharing needles to do drugs. You want a new needle each time. And we have a needle exchange program that offers you needles so that you don't have to share needles. Ask your partner about their sexual histories and behaviors. And that's what we touched a little bit on. Have this discussion with your partner. Open up the discussion to use condoms and why you feel it's important to use condoms. You have to have condom negotiation in your relationship when you're learning someone new. Females tend to have a larger problem with condom negotiation because if their partner says no, they usually just move on to the next step in the relationship without protecting themselves. So we just advise that you have that talk at the beginning of your relationship about condom use. Know your status, even if you believe that you're at low risk. Know your status. We tell people if you have a negative test at the beginning of this year and in 3 years you become HIV positive, there's your time gauge. Because you know that in 2018 you had a negative test. So that narrows down where the transmission came from. Remember your ABCs. A, abstain from sex till one gets married or delays date sex. B, faithful to one partner. And C, condom use correctly and consistently. Some of the cases that we see in the clinics and doing partner services in our DIS office, we do have partners, patients that are HIV positive, have been HIV positive for a very long time, still having unprotected sex, and will come to the clinic with their partner, test, and then act like this was the first test that they ever did. Karen, am I right? Mm-hmm. Tawana, am I right? And we sit there knowing that the partner, the first partner who's been positive, we may know that that person is positive. But we have to test that person, and we have to educate and advise that person to disclose their status. But because of fear of incarceration or charges being pressed, we see it every day. So I don't want anyone to think that people do not tell the truth about their status. And that's why it's so important that you protect yourself. Here are our testing locations. We have a location at 4242 Lorraine Avenue, Thomas McCafferty Health Center. We have a second location, J. Glenn Smith, It's located at 11100 St. Clair Avenue. We have testing, late testing on Tuesdays at J. Glenn Smith and late testing at McCafferty on Thursdays. If anyone needs the exact hours or times, let me know. My telephone number is 216-664-7099. I can get palm cards out to you with the exact hours for each clinic. Do I have any questions? Charlotte?
You know, if
I saw your face.
suppose you have sex with somebody and they are positive, but you're not. It's like you kind of skated through it. It's like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So each time that you would have sex with somebody, you're going to automatically get it.
No, you don't automatically get it, but you do have a higher risk for transmission if you don't use condoms or if, you don't use some type of barrier. Okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you know in the state of Ohio if you are required to disclose your status to your partner?
Yes, you are. You are required. Yes, people do not do it, but the law says that you are required to disclose your status to your partner. Okay?
It's a felony.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because in different states I know it's different.
It is in Ohio. House Bill 100. Felonious assault is the charge. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
So, sorry.
No problem.
So I know it matters your viral load too, and kind of what she was stating. It puts you at a higher risk, depending on what your viral load of the infection is.
Mm-hmm.
Does that always matter? Or are you still at a decent risk?
You're still at a risk for transmission regardless. However, an undetectable viral load means that you have very little of the virus in your system. It is controlled. Because with HIV, it duplicates itself if you're not on medication. So the faster it duplicates itself, the more virus that you have in your system, and then you're at a higher risk to transmit. So the medications today try to get people to undetectable levels where when they do a blood test, they can't read the amount. It's so low.
Can you explain what viral load is for those of us who don't know what that is?
Okay, that's all right. Viral load is the measurement of virus in someone's blood. So when you're newly diagnosed, you go to the doctor, to your infectious disease doctor, and they take blood and they actually measure how much of the virus is in your system. So that's what a viral load is. Someone that's been off of medication, it could be in the millions. Someone that's been on medication, it could be 2. So we want those numbers to go down, and we want your T cells, which are your healthy cells, we want that number to go up. Because the more healthy cells that you have, the more ability you have to fight other infections. Any other questions?
Ms. Carter, just quickly, could you just speak to how preventing and being educated on HIV is really prevention around other STIs?
Oh yes, definitely. Once you do education for HIV, it's the whole group of STIs. Because if you get chlamydia or gonorrhea, the transmission for HIV is the same way. If you're untreated STI, you may have open sores, bumps, lesions, and then you have unprotected sex with someone that's HIV positive, you have many ports for the transmission of HIV to enter. So you have to get yourself checked out and you have to stay healthy. Any STI can set you up to have HIV transmission. We advise that when we have clients come and they test positive for gonorrhea and they come in to get tested, we persuade them to have an HIV test, a syphilis test, all the tests. Because one STI is transmitted the same way through unprotected sex as HIV, syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, they're all transmitted the same way. And each time your immune system has to stop and fight off an STI, it weakens it to fight off HIV. Any other questions? Great, I think your lunch is here, so we're gonna, okay. Okay, okay.
So, well, thank you. I know we're coming to the conclusion of our program, but I just wanted to thank you, Lita, for this excellent presentation, and for everyone who is here and everyone who's going to watch this presentation. I would just say that these are tough topics, and they can be oftentimes uncomfortable topics, but we have to speak from a place of fact and a place of science. And Ms. Carter did such a great job of sharing that and conveying that, and I know that's what all the DIS do and what really is our mission. So as you're out in the community, as you're in your homes, your families, I would just encourage you to speak from that place of truth and that place of fact and science, because that is how we will prevent transmission, and we will help to really stop these infections. So thank you all again. Thank you, Ms. Carter.